Spider-Man is one of those characters that most likely will outlive us all. With the legacy he has, and with the merchandise everyone probably has if you've watched him at some point, there is most likely you've seen a show on the web-slinging hero we all know and love. At least I hope you love him if you're watching my channel. From the 60s television show, which literally came out a year after his creation, that's how you can tell how popular he was, all the way to even the Marvel Spider-Man show. We don't talk about that. They're all usually somewhat well known, and usually there's a list whenever someone talks about the Spider-Man show. But one thing that I usually see that's usually not shown is one that was like made in the middle between when the 90s show came out and Spectacular Spider-Man show. All the way in 2003. And from a channel that I don't think you would have thought would be a home for a Spider-Man show. But it was, and it existed, and it gave me haunting and loving memories. The MTV's Spider-Man, the new animated series, which I even have a DVD of. Yes, I still own DVDs. This show was supposed to be a adaptation of the Ultimate Spider-Man line from Brian Michael Bendis, created the series, who then created Miles Morales. But because this was also being created during the time of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies that were out, they wanted to cash in on that and basically reskinned the suit to look like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, which reality just looks like the regular Ultimate Spider-Man design, just a little bit older and with silvered webs, because he still got the big eyes like the Ultimate Spider-Man and everything. And yeah, there is also some nods to the Sam Raimi movies, but that's really that they're just references.
Here you are, saving me again.
Oh, man's gotta have hobbies.
Spider-Man? I mean, not that we had anything. Well, sure, there was that kiss, but it's not like we ever went out salsa dancing or anything like that.
I think I understand.
And I should mention, this show, from where it was created, it was not for kids. At least if you're like very young kids should not have watched this, because they did swear, they did show people partying with alcohol and, all the things that adults do, because they're in college, which is another thing they did different. And you can see the elements to the Ultimate Universe. But another thing that I don't see people talk about is how similar it actually is to the comics. How Peter was in his college years. Because yes, we all know the nerdy, insecure, shy teenager, right? Well, we keep forgetting that in the comics when he grew up, he actually started being more cool, more confident. Yes, still nerd. Yes, still, shy in some areas. But still was a cool nerd, if that makes sense. He got all the ladies.
Put the orbs back in. You never saw anyone rehearse for the camera?
You don't have a camera.
Well, I will have. I'm the new lifestyle reporter. Perhaps you've seen me.
Actually...
And in the show, it shows how he's more sarcastic and more cool. And even MJ, swoons over him. And speaking of MJ, because of how MJ has been shown terribly in recent times, and I don't think she's given her justice a while, like the actual interpretation of how she was in the comics originally. This show perfectly emulates how she is. She is a party girl. She does like having a lot of fun. She does do the whole flirting thing. But she's also an amazing friend. She doesn't let things down. She will push to be able to help you. And also shows that she does have her insecurities and shows the little flirtation she has with Peter. Because yes, they have an actual genuine connection in the show. It's not they know each other and they're just going to get together. No, they're genuinely flirting. They try to get together, but because of some circumstance, they can't. And then that made me lead to Harry. Okay, he's different from the comics. He was just kind of there in the comic series, at least from what I've seen him, and wasn't someone I really thought was interesting. But in this show, he's cocky, he's also party, but he's also, very womanizer and all that stuff. He's a cool douche you would like to hang out with, which is a weird sentence for Peter, who it wouldn't seem like it would make sense for him to be best friends with. But this show perfectly establishes their friendship. It is beautiful. But one thing that I find funny, because this was a show more for older people, ironically they wouldn't allow show older people, because they barely show Jonah because they wanted the cool kids, which is just older kids, to watch it, and they thought that having any older person would be bad. So that's why there's no Aunt May, which I'm like, in my mind, when I was little, I didn't think about it. I'm like, well, yeah, why do we need her? But yeah, but speaking of how old I was like 5, maybe 4 or 5 when I watched the show, when I got these DVDs, because it's Spider-Man, so my parents thought that it's Spider-Man, it's okay for you, but specifically this one, which I will get to, haunted me. Because, like I said, this was for adults, so they had more adult themes. They talked about bullying, but not just like, don't bully. No. They made an Electro episode, which is like the thing I just threw. This way they introduced Electro was beautiful because it showed that Max was just like Peter. He's a geek, but didn't get to the coolness that Peter got because of his Spider-Man-ness, the confidence. And he wanted to be in front with his fraternity, which that reminds me, the way that this episode started was weird. You know how like we have all these pranksters that do terrible stuff and no one likes them? Well, this is basically the equivalent of that in the early 2000s. They basically, these fraternity people kidnap him, put a helmet on him with earmuffs and blindfold him to basically drive him around places. This is just kidnapping like a prank. This was terrible.
I know he didn't see us. Are you sure he can't hear?
That's what the helmet's for.
Attention all Sigma Alpha Chi wannabes. This is your one-way trip to the Gamma 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 Sorority Nude Beer Bash. Anybody interested?
I don't know who you are, but I do not like this.
But because of some weird shenanigans, he basically to hold the car and basically drives around places, and Spider-Man has to save him from cement. And I'm like, dang.
Let's see. I'm backwards, so turning left means. Sorry.
But because he doesn't know them, he still tries to be friends with them. Like, as someone who's gotten bullied before, I can understand that necessity to want to be bigger with the big crowd. Because I watched a lot of Spider-Man, I never really wanted to as well at the same time. But he wanted to be with them, so he basically, I'm gonna suck up to them. And Peter's like, don't do that, please. They're not bad. I've dealt with this. But he doesn't listen. Also, his name is Max Dillon, by the way. And he basically gets invited to a frat party, and is told that if they will see if he's whatever their fraternity was called, like, material. And he's like, yeah, I'll be there. And it's funny because, like, he goes, and they're all in, like, robes when he goes into the building. And they basically prank him again. They say, are you worthy? And they all put their thumbs down. Because they're all not going to do it seriously. So they start shooting him with paintballs.
Sucks to be you.
And he basically leaves. Because he's so embarrassed and everyone sees him. And he's like, he's so bad. He's beyond pissed. Because he thought he had a chance, and no, he didn't, if you actually see that. And then there was this girl he liked beforehand. He could have just talked to her more. But because the frat people, wanted to come in, he never got a chance. So that little glance is all he had. And then because he was so pissed off, he left. And he was so upset. Because he gets bullied all the time. And so he sees a sign that says Max. That's like, shows his name. And he's like, maybe it's a sign. And then he goes up to it. And it's just kind of like an maximum thing, like for an energy drink or something. I'll have to look at it again. But then pisses on him, so he throws something at it and basically gets electrocuted and gets imbued with whatever that was. And then basically he kills his bullies. Not just, incapacitates them. No. He legit just murders them with the electricity. He picks the guy up, does it, and because of his psychotic breakdown, he thinks everyone is, and Spider-Man has to come in. This is basically like, oh my god. That's what they showed. I saw this as like a 5-year-old. I'm like, what's going on? I just wanted to see some punches from Spider-Man. I didn't want to see this. This terrified me because he would scream. But this was how the show was. Like, this is most likely the second scariest because there was also the time they introduced the Lizard. Which I should mention, they didn't introduce every Spider-Man villain because I don't know why. Like, we'll get to them later. They introduced the Lizard, and Kirk Connors is shown. He basically gets the Lizard formula. and he actually eats people, he kills people, and he basically kills himself by the end. So that happens. But what I mean is that they don't introduce every Spider-Man character. They had Kraven, they had Silver Sable, they had Kingpin, they had, like I said, they had Electro, and then they had the Lizard. But that's really about it. Everyone else is like stand-in for other characters. They introduced this character named Talon, which for the years I've watched this show, I thought that was Black Cat. I didn't know it was supposed to be a different person, because if you just painted that hair, I was like, that's Black Cat. They don't even say her name.
Some sudden need for a paperweight? Or is there a big market for stolen cable TV awards?
Okay, first of all, spandex, you might want to rethink that. Second, not everything's about money, sweetheart. If it's worth something to them, it's worth something to me. And third,
Then they had one character that I have a story about. His name was Turbojet. For the longest time, I thought this man was Mysterio because of the helmet thing. I didn't know he was a parody character to another character named Rocket Racer with the... Yeah, his name is... Yeah, that he wasn't good for the time. I didn't know that. I legit thought that was just Mysterio, just reskin. I'm like, you can literally just cover the rest of that, change color schemes, and then boom, you got Mysterio. So for the entire movie, I thought that was just Mysterio. I thought just he had different powers. I'm like, why is Mysterio fast? Where's his cape? That's what I thought. And this may stupid, but like when I was a kid, in the opening of the show, its intro, there was this explosion from another character, Pterodax or whatever. It was a group, but I don't really care about them. And for so long, my baby brain thought that was Dr. Octopus's arm. And because I didn't watch it for so long, I had to rewatch it. And I'm like, that's just an explosion. How did I think that was his arm? I mean, to a baby brain, I can understand why. So I really wanted to see Dr. Octopus. And this show was just something else. I mean, maybe because I grew up with the show in a day I probably shouldn't have. I love it. Even the style that people say it's really weird in some ways, and I love it. I love it so much. Especially the animation, not the art style, the animation, the actual flow. He moves like a Todd McFarlane art, but in motion. It's beautiful. And I'm like, I want to swing, I want to spin like Spider-Man. I want to basically break all my bones to basically swing like him. It was just so cool. And like by the end, they have Terror Twins. I'm not sure what they were called. But they were freaky. They were boring looking. Like, even when I was a kid, I was kind of like, they look boring. I was like, they were invented for the show as well. And I was like, I don't really care about that. But what happened was terrifying. Because literally the introduction to them was they were being transported and that they have mind control powers. But they basically hypnotized the guy because something broke that basically stopped their powers or something. Basically just made someone's mind, made someone want to shoot their friend.
The driver, shoot, then set us free. Shoot, shoot.
Scared me so badly as a kid. I'm like, oh! I'm like, why did you do this? And I'm like, yeah, this is not a show for kids if you see that in the first opening moments. And it just goes wild. People just bang. And just to let you know, all this stuff that happened in one season. They got canceled. Which, I don't know why it got canceled. I think it did really well. It was really well done. Like, the voice casting was perfect. The only one I remember by name is Neil Patrick Harris of How I Met Your Mother fame. He was Spider-Man. He was perfect. That was the first time I ever heard of him. I did not know him from How I Met Your Mother because, like, again, I saw this show when I was very young, before I watched any sitcom shows. I mean, it took me years to watch sitcom shows, but still. So all I knew him was as Spider-Man. I didn't see him as Barney Stinson. I saw him as that. That was beautiful. Everyone else, I will probably put the credits on the names of each actor or show the images. I don't know their name. I'll do it in post. And dang, this is just, it was awesome. And they left the show in a massive cliffhanger. They basically had him quit Spider-Man because basically one of the twins made him think he pushed the character. Oh, I forgot it. I should have mentioned her. They introduced a new character, which I wish was made in the comics. Put her in the comics. She's awesome. Dingy Daimonji, I think that's what her name was. And her being another love interest for Peter was beautiful. I mean, they could have introduced other like regular comic love interests. They didn't have to create a whole new one. But her as a character, she complimented Peter so much. And that dynamic, that triangle. Usually I don't like those of, the one guy likes two girls, or like the vice versa, right? I usually don't like it, but with this, it was really cute and really nice because they're in college, so it's never like super easy to understand. It's a very complicated mess, and it was beautifully done. But basically, one of the twins made him think that she was one of them and pushed her off. I mean, I don't know why Spider-Man would push her off in the first place, but Peter, why are you pushing people off buildings? Just because they can hypnotize you does not mean they can survive a fall like that. He basically put her in like a induced coma. He basically quit being Spider-Man. And that was the cliffhanger. And I'm like, I want to see more. And it's like, no more. We'll never see more. Because why would they? It was made by a studio that I don't even think, like MTV. I don't watch anything from them, but this is the only thing I knew from them. And it was beautiful. And that's my thoughts on the forgotten gem of a Spider-Man show, Spider-Man, the new animated series, for its time. But what did you think? Have you seen this show? Have you not seen this show? Please leave a comment down below, because I would like to know if you also watched this when you were way too young for it, or you watched it when you got older, because it's a really good show. And also let me know if you liked it. And if you like seeing me talk about Spider-Man, me talk about movies or shows that I watched as a kid or watched older that I probably shouldn't, please comment that too, because I would really like talking about these. And if you're new to here, hello, my name is Doodlebite. I talk about whatever superhero stuff I'm interested at the moment. And I hope to see everyone in the next video.